Hi everyone, welcome back to Wrestling Fun with Father and Son. I'm Father Matt, and this is Son.
Kai.
And this is a week that's WWE. This is the Out of the Blue Smackdown review. 11th of the 10th, 2019, part 1 of the draft. WWE are now doing sort of a brand splitting draft again, like they did earlier. Hopefully they'll get rid of the wild card this time, so they won't be mixing in. But anyway, SmackDown started off with a match. It was Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns would represent SmackDown and Seth Rollins represents Raw, and the winning brand gets the first pick in the draft. That was basically the reason for this this match. There was quite a cool little sequence in this where Roman Reigns went for a spear, only for then Seth to sort of drop him in a kind of half pedigree without the locking arms, which was quite a cool little spot. But the match was kind of interrupted. There was no kind of finish. There was and there weren't. Basically the lights went out, the Fiend's music hit, only for the Fiend to come through the ring and attack Seth Rollins. He dragged him through the hole in the ring. There was a little bit of smoke. The lights come back on, only for then Seth Rollins to pop out of the hole. He was then sort of on the mat, sort of reeling from the attack, only for then the Fiend to pop up, which was quite cool because it was in light, so it looked quite. It looks more. I've got to admit, it looks more frightening in light than it does in that sort of red glow darkness. Only for then the lights to sort of go out, and then the Fiend to be on the ramp with his music and sort of, well, if you can call it sort of music, but it's sort of I don't know what you call it. It's sort of weird sort of noise sound effect sort of type thing, and that was kind of how that ended. So Raw in effect then got a DQ win basically, so they got the first pick. They did this weird thing where they did like a Fox and a USA War Room, which I thought looked a bit stupid, to be honest. I really did think it looked really stupid. That's my personal opinion. People might love that sort of thing, but it did look really fake and it looked really put on, and they were really celebrating when they got a pick, and I just thought, you know, it was what it was, but I wasn't a fan of it, to be honest. Then they had the first round of picks. Stephanie came out. I'll go through them, Kai. The first pick was Raw. Who was it?
Becky Lynch.
Yep, Becky Lynch is staying on Raw. On SmackDown it was
Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns is staying on SmackDown. Yes, on Raw was
OC.
Yep, that was the next pick. But all three members of the OC, which was really weird because the rules were tag teams. Could you say that they're a tag team? I suppose you could. They are kind of a faction or a stable, but they didn't really say that. But anyway, then SmackDown, which was a big one. They finally found a home for him. Who was it?
Bray Wyatt.
Yep, Bray Wyatt is on Raw. Bray Wyatt is on SmackDown now. But it didn't say that the Fiend was on SmackDown. They said Bray Wyatt was. So I'm thinking that's a loophole, and I think the Fiend might appear on Raw because they're going to say he hasn't got a home. And then lastly, on the first round on Raw was
Drew McIntyre.
Drew McIntyre, who's actually injured at the minute. So when he returns, he'll still be on Raw. The Bray Wyatt thing was the only real movement there. He didn't have a real home, but he now has. I'm a little bit disappointed that he's on SmackDown for the reason that I would prefer him to be on Raw because of Paul Heyman. I think Paul Heyman's got a better creative mind. I think he could have used the Fiend a bit better, but we'll see. We'll see if the Fiend jumps and Bray Wyatt stays on SmackDown. We'll have to see. Then we had a match: King Corbin again versus Chad Gable. Again, they're just still going with this. This time King Corbin won with the End of Days, and that was kind of it. Then we got into round 2 of the draft. There we go. Raw was
Randy Orton.
Randy Orton. Yep, he's jumped from SmackDown to Raw now. SmackDown was
Sasha Banks.
Yeah, Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks has jumped to SmackDown, so she's changed. On Raw was
Ricochet.
Ricochet. Yes, he's staying on Raw. And SmackDown again. Braun Strowman. Yep, Braun Strowman's jumped from Raw to SmackDown now. And lastly, Raw. It was Bobby Lashley. Yes, Bobby Lashley staying on Raw. So I'm going to think that Rusev's staying on Raw. I think he's in the second round picks, which is on Raw. So we'll have to see, but I think he'll stay on Raw. Next we had Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar come out. Typical Paul Heyman promo, and I say that every time, but it is a typical Paul Heyman promo. Only for them Rey Mysterio and Cain Velasquez to come out. They shoot a little bit of a video, but it's called more of a sort of picture slideshow of UFC, the UFC fight from 2-1, I think it is, with Brock Lesnar, where Brock Lesnar's got this scar on his face now, which Cain Velasquez actually done in that match, and he's still got it, obviously, today. First of all, they announced that they're going to have a match now against each other at Crown Jewel. Also, Tyson Fury versus Strowman at Crown Jewel as well. They made that match as well.
And Team Punk going against Team Flair.
Yep, and that's also the other match as well. But we only know a couple of members from them teams at the minute. They need to flesh them out, which I'm guessing will happen on Raw and SmackDown next week. Only for then Cain Velasquez to go onto the microphone, do a bit of a promo in sort of I'm not. Is it sort of Spanish Mexican? I think. I'm not really sure if you class it as Mexican or Spanish, but he did a promo in his language, only for then Rey Mysterio to translate and say that he was going to give him a match in Scar on the other side at Crown Jewel, and that was the end of that. Then we had the New Day versus the OC. Not much to it. Kofi actually got a surprise win on AJ Styles, which I was really surprised. He did Trouble in Paradise to AJ Styles and got the win. So there's still, I don't know if it's sort of, this is sort of like the sort of booby prize, as it were, or they're sort of going to go forward with Kofi, or Kofi's done in the main scene. I don't really know. We'll have to find out. Then we got to round 3 of the draft. Raw was Lex Bliss. Yep, she's staying on Raw. SmackDown got
Lacey Evans.
Lacey Evans has jumped to SmackDown now. Raw got
Kevin
Owens, yep, he's jumped from SmackDown to Raw, obviously after last week when he fired Shane McMahon. SmackDown then got the Revival, which is a big shocker. They are actually the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, so that was a big shocker that they stayed on SmackDown, wasn't it? And then Raw lastly got Natalya, yep, she stayed on Raw. Then they went straight into round 4, I think it is. Am I right? Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 4th round. So Raw got the Viking Raiders. The Viking Raiders stayed on Raw. SmackDown got the
Lucha
House Party. They jumped from Raw to SmackDown. Yes. Raw got
Nikki
Cross. Yes, she stayed. SmackDown got
Heavy
Machinery. Yep, they stayed. And Raw got a bit of a shocker. The Street Profits. They have been doing some promo work on Raw, but I did think they were more NXT. They sort of said last time that they were still NXT, but this time they've actually got a defined home of Raw. So I should think they'll start having matches on Raw now. So that was a little bit of a shocker. And then we get to the main event. It was Charlotte versus Bayley. Bayley came out with a hood on. She pulled the hood off. She's got a new haircut. She's cut all her hair off, only for her like sort of bubbly music to stop. She then got an implement from behind one of the tube Wibbly men, which was sort of like a pole with like looked like knives on it or something. She attacked her tube men, deflated them all, basically in effect turning heel. That was what she done. So she walked down to the ramp. She had a match with Charlotte, only for then there to be a natural selection from Charlotte. Bayley no-sold it because Charlotte went then for the figure 8. Bayley rolled up Charlotte, got the win. A shock upset there. She is now the SmackDown Women's Champion again after about a week of Charlotte having it. So that was a bit of a throwaway title reign. Only for them to play some new music. She's got the new music and she went on the mic and she then turned around to the crowd and said, "Screw all of you," effectively completing the heel turn. So she is now finally heel. And this is what I was saying about Io Shirai. When she turned heel, they completely changed everything. Her look, the music, everything. The personality, everything. And they said they didn't do this with Bayley. They've now finally gone ahead and done it. So that was the end of SmackDown. So yeah, it was interesting SmackDown, especially with the draft. The draft probably dominated it a bit more than really wrestling, as you would expect. So these kind of 2 episodes, Raw and SmackDown, are going to be filler, and they're not going to really be any noteworthy things really to come out of it except for the draft. A lot of people from the draft stayed on their prospective shows, which was, I expected that, to be honest. I didn't think the draft was going to mix it up too much. If I quickly grab my phone and we go through the people that were undrafted free agents, as far as I know they haven't picked a brand. They can pick a brand. We have Cesaro, Chad Gable, EC3, Alberto Carrillo, Akari Tazara, Sin Cara, Eric Young, Heath Slater, Drew Gulak, Tamina, the B team, and they are the undrafted picks. They still have to pick a brand. It's best to be undrafted, to be fair, because then you get to pick where you go. So that's to me, that's a better thing than actually being picked, because then you're kind of stuck. But yeah, you can tell there's a lot of people in that are jobbers low down the order, so I'm not surprised. Let's say the next part of the draft is on Raw. We've got people like Daniel Bryan. There was Daniel Bryan, Bailey's in there, Seth Rollins, them sort of people, the other half basically of the roster. So, yeah, the draft is what it is. Hopefully they don't away with this wild card. Hopefully, and they'll keep to their brands. Now they're on separate separate networks. I'm hoping they keep to the brands because that wild card just does not work. So let's get rid of it. Anyway, that was the Blue Smackdown review. Like I say, kind of a filler show. I'm not really going to say whether I liked it or didn't like it because there wasn't much content, to be honest. It's nice to see Bailey's heel turn. That's nice to see. I'm happy about that. Next week, the schedule is a little bit sort of kerfuffled because of work's commitments. We will be able to give the Raw review on Tuesday, the day after, but next week's NXT, AEW and Smackdown are going to have to be done at the weekend because on Thursday, Friday I've got work commitments, so I can't do a video in them days. They're the days when I would have done it. So I'm thinking Saturday I will release the NXT and AEW reviews on Saturday, and then on Sunday I'll put out the Out of the Blue Smackdown review, or possibly I might put them all out in one day, and then if people want to watch them they can watch them at their own leisure. So yeah, I'll say if you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you in the Rawsome review on Tuesday. So I'll say goodbye, and say goodbye, Kai.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.